Okay, so in Texas, the legal limit for DWI is 0.08. In some states, the United States, it's higher. In some states, it's lower. But in Texas, it's 0.08. Now, people try to figure out, like, what does that practically mean? Is it 1 drink an hour? Is it 2 drink an hour? It's impossible, right? Because so much depends on, like, how much do you weigh? What have you eaten? When was the last time you ate? All these different factors, right? So what it really is, the practical advice is you can't lose the normal use of your mental or physical faculties. So that's the definition that you kind of should be working from, is that if you have any loss of the use of your normal driving abilities, you might be DWI. So in Texas, again, legal limit 0.08. They do make a distinction if you're above 0.15. At that point, they call it like super DWI, right? You can get to 0.15 really quick, by the way. It's not that much different, okay? Legal limit is 0.08. Anything above that, you're going to be DWI. Anything above 0.15, you're going to be super DWI. What does it mean? Not too much, but the consequences are a little more serious. They're a little less inclined to give you like a break or give you a reduction or keep it off your record. The consequences they amp up a little bit when you're super DWI. So the biggest misconception in Texas about DWIs is that it's limited to alcohol, and it's not. You can get a DWI in marijuana, you can get a DWI in cocaine, you can get a DWI on prescription pills. We've had clients that have come to us and they've taken like an Ambien to sleep, and then they get pulled over and they are actually DWI on Ambien, right? Because it does not matter what the substance is. You can be DWI on NyQuil. The issue is, have you lost the use of your normal driving abilities? And if you have, whether it's from marijuana, whether it's from NyQuil, whether it's from alcohol, you can actually be DWI. The other big misconception is DWI versus DUI. People use those terms interchangeably, but they're actually different things. So DWI is for when you've had alcohol in your system and you're above 0.08, right? But DUI is actually for people under 21, right? Because in Texas, you can't have any alcohol in your system under 21 because the legal drinking age is 21. So even if you've had a sip of alcohol and you're 19 and you get pulled over, you will be categorized as DUI for having any detectable amount of alcohol in your system under 21 and driving. Okay, so on field sobriety tests, I always tell people, growing up, my grandmother was the safest driver I have ever met. She drove 10 miles under the speed limit, both hands perfectly on the wheel. On two-way roads, my brother and I would laugh because she would actually pull over and let the other car pass before she got back on and carried on down the road, okay? So she was the absolute safest driver I've ever met in my life, and she would not pass her field sobriety tests. She would be presumed intoxicated if she was accused because she couldn't do the things like the walk and turn or the one-leg stand, right? These tests are very flawed. They've been designed to fail. They're not your friends. And so sometimes people think, well, what happens if I refuse them? The answer is nothing, okay? You're not required to take field sobriety tests in Texas. They are not mandatory. The pushback to that is that they can use it against you, right? They can say, hey, he refused to take the field sobriety test. Doesn't that mean that you think he was intoxicated? You got to balance that out between the video of you trying to walk and turn and things like that. Because again, remember, there's a lot of people that can't pass these tests. I tore my Achilles when I was younger, and I still stumble trying to do like walk and turns or one leg stands or things like that. It's not because I'm intoxicated. It's because I've had a sports injury. A lot of people are like that. So field sobriety tests in Texas are not mandatory. You're not required to take them. There's a lot of people that can't pass them for legitimate non-intoxicated reasons. People with sports injuries, people with balance issues, older people. There are lots of good reasons. So, if you can't take them, tell the police officer, I can't do these. The tests are not mandatory. So if you tell a police officer, look, I can't do them, they're not going to force you to do them. They're going to use that to determine whether or not they think you're intoxicated. So they can use it against you, but they can't force you to take the tests. So look, if you're at the point where the officer has you out of the car, they're investigating you for DWI, they're asking to do the field sobriety tests, you're probably at the point where they are very strongly considering arresting you for DWI. Bear in mind, they're also going to force you to do a breathalyzer or a blood test. So that decision as to whether or not you do the field sobriety test, it's not necessarily going to decide whether or not you get arrested or not. If you pass it, there's still a pretty good chance at that point you're getting arrested. So minors in Texas have to be really careful with alcohol and driving. They're actually subject to two laws in Texas. Minors can get DWIs, right? So if somebody under the age of 21 has alcohol in their system above the legal limit, they can actually get a DWI. But minors also can get DUIs. Because somebody under the age of 21 isn't supposed to be drinking alcohol at all, if a minor gets pulled over and they have even a sip of alcohol, even any detectable amount, they are subject to being arrested for DUI, driving under the influence, as opposed to DWI, driving while intoxicated. After a DWI, you're going to want to hire a DWI attorney. DWIs are actually like kind of a specialized area of criminal defense. Look for attorneys that have handled lots of DWIs, ones that have had DWI trials, ones that have been DWI prosecutors. At our law firm, we have a few attorneys that actually have been former DWI prosecutors. They've worked with the police, they've worked with highway enforcement, and they know what to look for in these cases. They're the ones that are going to be able to spot the mistakes the officers made during their DWI investigation, whether it's questions that were asked incorrectly, whether it's the field sobriety tests that were done incorrectly, whether it's the breathalyzer that was handled the wrong way. Experienced DWI attorneys are going to spot those things, and that's how you're going to get your cases dismissed.